Normally, on my channel, I have videos in which I talk about a lot of heavy subjects, religion, politics, and etc. But I thought I would talk about something that's much more fun, a little lighter subject. So this video is called So You Want to Own a Pet Rat. Well, some of you are probably thinking, why own a pet rat? Why have a rat as a pet? I've owned many pet rats during my life, and they've turned out to be very good pets overall. I think they're cute, and they're much less likely to bite you than a hamster or a gerbil. I have never owned any gerbils. They've been illegal in the state where I used to live. They're legal where I'm living now, but they tend to bite more. And so rats, if you want to own a rodent, rats are a good choice. They tend to be nicer. But there are a few things people should know if you're considering buying a pet rat. One is, I would say, buy from a reputable pet store, one that is clean. Look around to see how the animals are in their cages. This will determine how healthy your pet is going to be. So do look around the store and look inside the cages of the animals and see if the cages are clean and so forth. Secondly, buy a pet rat that is still young. Now, some rats in the pet stores are going to be full grown already, and I would say don't buy one of those. Buy one that is still young. But also look at the rats that are full grown, because that is how big your rat is going to get. They might look like a little mouse. Well, you can't really see very well on the camera here, but they might look like a little mouse about that size, but they'll get maybe that big. They will get a lot bigger. So I would suggest buying a cage that is much larger than you think you need, because if you're just looking at how small a young rat is, you're going to want to save money and buy a small cage that is proportional to the little rat. Well, mice will stay the same size as you see them in the pet store, but rats will get much bigger, so buy a much bigger cage. So that's very important. Shavings. I would say avoid cedar shavings. Now, they do have cedar shavings available at pet stores and grocery stores and so forth. But the oil coming off of the cedar shavings is bad for your pet rat. This is true also if you're going to buy a hamster or a gerbil. So I would say stay away from the cedar shavings. In my experience and also talking to the more responsible people, the more knowledgeable people working at pet stores, is the best kind of bedding for your pet rat or other rodent is the recycled paper type of shavings. They'll usually have something on there saying no harmful oils or something like that. And also it's better for the environment that way. So that would be a top choice. I don't remember the different brands, but if it's some kind of recycled paper type shavings that have been treated in a certain way before being sold, that's your best bet. Pine shavings are a little better than cedar, but not the best choice. Clean your cage once a week, even if there's just one rat in a cage. This is to keep your pet healthy. The cages will get stinky, and so keep your cage clean. Some of you might want more than one pet rat. I would say be very careful with this for several reasons. Well, two reasons especially. One reason is if you get a male and female in there, you are soon going to end up with a lot more rats than you want. So if you're intending to breed rats yourself and sell them as pets or give them away, keep in mind you're going to have a lot of rats. So if you're going to have more than one in a cage, make sure they are both either males or females, and not a male and a female unless you want a lot more rats. I have had mixed experiences having more than one rat in a cage. Now, when I had them from the same litter, from the same pet store, the same little cage, container, whatever, they've usually tended to do okay. Like if they're both brothers from the same litter of rats. This was fine for the most part when I was a kid. My brother and I each picked out one, and they did okay. They would fight only on occasion, but it was more brotherly type squabbling and not anything really serious. But when I was an adult, this was maybe about 10 years ago, I had 3 rats in a cage, and one of them turned out to grow bigger than the other 2, and that was really bad. I think at that particular pet store, it was not as good of a store, and they had rats from different litters, all in the same larger cage that you could select them from. Now, this is not a big deal uh, in general because, let's face it, the vast majority of rodents for sale, especially rats and mice, they are being sold as food for snakes. And so it doesn't really matter if the rats are from more than one litter or if one gets bigger than another. They're all going to be just sold to be eaten by snakes. But it did matter because one rat that I chose, it turned out to be much bigger than the other two rats, and it killed the other two. And so that was really bad. And I didn't have the cage in the same room, and so I was surprised. Also surprising, that rat, which looked more like a sewer rat than anything else, I wonder where they got their rats from, because this one looked like a rat you'd find on the street. It didn't get quite as large as some sewer rats you might see in larger cities, but it looked like that. It turned out to be a very good pet after it had bumped off its other two rats. It turned out to live longer than most rats, and it turned out to be quite a good rat to own, once it was the only one in the cage. But yeah, you have to be careful if they are fighting seriously instead of just playing around, and you noticed a wound on one of your rats in a cage, then you're going to hopefully do the smart thing and put them into two different cages. If I had known what would have happened, I would have never put 3 rats into a cage, even though the cage was a good size. One just took out the other 2, and then I woke up the next morning and there were 2 dead rats, and so that was sad. But a lifespan, it depends. So far, they've tended to live at least 3 years in general, 2.5 to 3 years. One lived close to 4 years, so it's kind of unpredictable. They do tend to die rather badly, even if they're being treated well. Even if you clean the cage, you feed them good rat food, you give them a bit of supplementary treats that are healthy for them, you change their water, you're doing everything right. More often than not, my pet rats have gotten tumors, and they had to be put down in various ways. I'm not going to get into that, but that's the bad part. It's the worst part of owning a pet rat, is you're likely going to have to kill them. They're not just going to die peacefully necessarily. They tend to get tumors, regardless of how well you're treating them or not. That's the number one way of them dying. But the nice thing to do is, if it gets a tumor, kill it or get a relative who can kill it for you, a pellet gun or something like that. Try to kill a rat in a humane way. Don't let the rat grow a tumor and then die because of its tumor that's really large. So you have to consider this ahead of time before buying a pet rat. Be a responsible pet owner. So those are the main things I wanted to mention. Okay. Some of you might want to let your rats loose in the house. If you have any other pets around, I would say either don't do this at all, or make sure you're in a bedroom like mine. You have a small bedroom, and you can let a rat loose in your room if you want to. I've done this with all my pet rats, and I have had no problems with them chewing anything electrical. That is not to say your pet rat will not, but I've had many pet rats at different times. I didn't have many at once running around, only one at a time, but they never chewed any electrical cords. However, they did like paper products, so they did chew into some books. Like, I keep books under my bed, and I had these blinds on my sliding glass door, and they were made of fabric, and the rat chewed into one of those, and so that was kind of a mess. So they will chew fabric, or if the blind is sort of made out of a cardboard-like material, and it's the floor-length blind on a sliding glass door, these retractable blinds, your rat might chew into that stuff. So be aware, they will chew paper and fabric products. If you let a rat loose running around your room, they will leave poop. That's not hard to clean up. Rat poops tend to be pretty dry right away. But they will also urinate on your carpet, which is not so good. So maybe I was dumb to let my rats run around in my room, but I liked having a rat running around my room. I would sit on the floor and read, and they'd come and hop up on my lap and stay for a little while. Some rats are so intelligent that they actually learn their names, and I would call the rat. They do like to hang out underneath your bed, and so if I wanted my rat to go back in its cage, I would just call him, and by name. It would take a little while, but he would actually come running, hop on my lap, and then I would put the rat in the cage. But not only would he live under my bed if I let him, but he would crawl up into the bed frame, and then it became hard to crawl under there and reach, and then grab the rat, and in case he didn't come calling. So that could be difficult too. Rats and children, again, a pretty good pet. I got my first pet rat when I was about 9, I think, and I was very happy with my rat, and my brother had one, and we had them in the same cage, and they were great. I used to carry I wouldn't suggest doing this necessarily, but I used to carry a rat on my shoulder and walk around the house. The only reason I suggest doing this is not doing this is because your rat could fall off your shoulder and hurt itself, and then you have a injured rat which you have to put down. But and they might, when they're hanging on, hold on to your neck a little bit. They do have little claws, so I wouldn't suggest walking around with the rat on your shoulder like I did. I was kind of dumb. And also, they are likely to pee on your shoulder or poop on your shoulder. So I would suggest not walking around with a rat on your shoulder. Overall, though, apart from dying of tumors or almost dying of tumors and you having to put them down in some way, which you might not want to do, it's not fun to kill your pet, but that's the humane thing to do. Apart from that, they're pretty good pets. I think better than hamsters or gerbils. You're going to want to get yourself outfitted quite well with a big cage and a wheel that is large enough, and that is important too. They need exercise, so be sure to get a wheel. And if you have 2 rats, get 2 wheels, because otherwise they're going to squabble over who gets to be in the wheel. Though it can be kind of funny if there's just one wheel and one is hanging onto the wheel going around and around. And sometimes even if there's 2 wheels, they'll both be on one wheel. That's all right. But yeah, good pets overall, I would say. So if you're going to be a pet rat owner, then just please be responsible and be aware of these things. One last thing I was going to mention, if you're a light sleeper, having a rat in a cage in your room is not the wisest thing, because rats, like other rodents, are nocturnal. And so when I was a kid, I slept more soundly, and then the noise didn't bother me with them running around the cage and the rat wheels turning. But as an adult, I had to have the cage in another room because I just couldn't sleep while the rats were running around in the cage. And the wheels, especially if they're made out of metal, get squeaky. You're going to want to oil the wheels. But I would take the wheel out and oil it. Let the oil dry, and so the rats do not lick the oil off of the wheel and get sick. So please be responsible with your pet rat. Thanks for watching.